Knowledge or experience isn't what matters most in the Atomy business at all. It's the attitude that matters. Attitude. You don't need a lot of knowledge, or academic background, or even experience, but an attitude determined to succeed. That is everything. You all know the steel magnate Carnegie, right? The single thing that exasperated Carnegie was that the laborers he employed didn't have the right mindset to become wealthy. Carnegie didn't have a very good academic background and barely graduated elementary school, and his mother passed away in his earlier years, so he grew up with a stepmother. Nevertheless, he thought that even if he were to become penniless one day, he could, without a doubt, become wealthy again. But why did the laborers in my factories never dream of being wealthy themselves? He was always displeased with this aspect. So he thought he ought to teach people how they could become wealthy. But the method that he had wasn't extremely complicated, or even that lofty of a philosophy. Carnegie left behind many famous sayings, and we are all familiar with his 6 ways of becoming rich. The thing is, they're just difficult to practice. First, he said, you need to decide how much money you wish to make. How much do you wish to make a month? The 10,000 man. It means a man who makes 10,000 a month, right? A 10,000 a month man. And you'd like to make that at least. How about 20,000 a month? So decide on a number. 10,000. I'm going to make 10,000 a month. That's what Carnegie said. He gathered his factory workers, and he told them he would teach them how to become rich. Decide on the amount of money you wish to make. Second, he asked the question, What are you going to do to make 10,000 a month? You need to do something to make that money, right? Can you make 10,000 running a dry cleaner? Or in real estate? Not anymore. It used to be back in the day. Not anymore. You should know what you're going to do to make 10,000 a month. You must decide on what you plan on doing. For example, if you were to say, I will make 10,000 a month farming, you should come up with a plan to do that, am I right? Third, Carnegie asked, how long will it take? How long? How long before reaching your goal? Because it's time bounding. It has a limit. Without this, nothing has any meaning. How long do you plan on doing it? I plan on 10,000 a month within 3 years. He said that we should set a time limit. Then, the fourth is, how am I going to do it? How? He meant we should decide on the ways of achieving your goal. For example, I plan on making 10,000 a month. Doing what? The Atomy business. How long will that take? Within 3 years. But how? Well, I'll meet 10 people every day. You need a detailed plan to do that though, correct? Then the fifth one was write it on paper. Write it on paper. You have to get this written down. Sixth is, put it over your bed and memorize it day and night. And that's it. That's it. To this, the factory worker said, that is nothing new. It's no secret. But the people who were enlightened by his words became wealthy. You know, Carnegie never said, if you want to become rich, go to Harvard. It's all related to attitude. It's just attitude. So then why did he tell the people to keep one's goals over their bed and memorize them? It's because it only takes 1 minute for people to understand something, but it's extremely difficult to put into action. Because to put something in action, continuous self-suggestion is a must. It is an absolute must. And then, Jack Welch, who led a world-leading enterprise, once said that if you don't repeat something 70 times, it's the same as not having said it at all. This is because it only takes a few minutes to understand an idea. But it's difficult to actually put that into action. Do you understand? Then does that mean knowledge isn't important? Of course it's important. Technique and knowledge is also important, but the key lies with attitude. It all comes back to attitude. Do you have a positive attitude or a negative one? Do you like to challenge yourself or become easily disheartened? Do you give up on challenges or do you push yourself? It all depends on your attitude. As long as you have the right attitude, things like technique comes naturally, and you can work on what you lack. Let's take a little look. Some elementary school math. Elementary math. What is 1 divided by infinity? Infinity? How can infinity be the answer if you keep dividing by 1? Huh? What happens if you keep dividing by 1? Yeah? What do you think? 0. It's a convergence. 0. What happens when you divide 100 by infinity? It's 0. What about a billion divided by infinity? 0. What about a quadrillion? It's 0. The amount of knowledge in this world is infinite. And for example, if we were to say the amount of knowledge of a person who graduated from elementary school is 1, a college graduate might have 100. But divide that by the amount of knowledge in the world, they're both basically at 0. So if we compared the knowledge of the most well-educated person to all the knowledge in the world, it's 0. The percentage is 0. It's the same for everyone. Then, what's the difference between being ignorant and intelligent? We would never determine how smart one person is by doing one single problem. All of this is dealt with if you read the Analects of Confucius. But many Western books also discuss this concept, including Socrates. Apparently, Socrates thought he was the most ignorant person in the world. But a wise man once received an oracle at the Delphi Temple. Who's the wisest person in Athens? And he was told, it's Socrates. But Socrates was surprised to hear this. He himself thought he was very ignorant. So he thought, why would they say I'm the wisest? But then, after meeting the wise men of Athens, he realized that he was indeed the wisest. He was the wisest. Why is this? Because he knew he was ignorant. The other wise men didn't know they were ignorant. They thought they were wise. So, when you come to Atomy, your schooling doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you failed in the past. And no matter what your social position is, if you divide your knowledge by all the knowledge in the world, they're all the same. The first step to do is to stop the condescending attitude. Arms crossed, sitting there thinking, well, let's just see what this punk has to say, I guess. Will get us nowhere. There's no point in even coming to this if you're going to sit there with that attitude. Not that those of you who are here are like this, but I'm saying the ones outside are like that. Okay, now, let's take a look at the income situation in Korea and Japan. We're an OECD country. And out of all those countries, Korea ranks last, or second to last, in terms of the poverty rate of the elderly. And neither country has a very good social security system. The US and Canada have a rather sturdy system, though, don't they? Yeah, I mean, it's alright, but not enough to feel financially well off. The problem lies in the income of your later years, due to the ever-increasing average life expectancy. Many developed countries, such as the US, are also finding themselves in tricky situations because of increased pension that come with the increased life expectancy. This goes for Japan as well, while Korea is in a slightly better state. Since Japan has such a great amount of government debt, their public income transfer. In other words, they don't have the reserve to provide any social security. So, out of all OECD countries, Korea has the highest poverty rate among the elderly. 45.1% of the elderly in retirement are suffering from poverty. Okay, now let's look at the appropriate age for retirement in Korea. How long should we work to be financially stable in our later years? In Korea, the average age is 70.3 years old. So, in other words, that means we have to work until we're 70 to provide for ourselves after retirement. We have no public income transfer and welfare can support us all. What are you going to do with $1,000 a month? When you get older, hospital costs continue to rise. It becomes your biggest expense. That's the problem. Korea has one of the highest retirement ages now. In the past, most people could retire around 50 in Western countries. Western countries such as Spain, UK, and France are actually trying to raise the retirement age. They're trying to amend laws. The UK and France hope to raise the age to 68, and Spain to 75. This means the government won't provide pension before 75. You have to support yourself before that. Why? The government's purse is empty. Without people working longer, the country won't survive. Tons of people check out job fairs for seniors, but there aren't enough jobs. The best way to solve the issue of elderly poverty is for the government to provide more welfare, and there are two ways to achieve that. The first way to do it is to collect more taxes. Who here wants to pay more taxes? In Denmark, the tax rate is 55%. So if you make $1 million, you pay $550,000 in taxes. There's also another way for better welfare. The government can issue bonds and land on a tremendous amount of debt. Then who takes care of the debt? The next generation. Hey, we've used up all this money, but I don't know how to take care of it. You know? What happens if a country can't pay its debts? They don't go bankrupt. They can print tons of money and release it. So, in the event of this coming to pass, what actually happens? Prices go up and inflation sets in. Have you heard of the country Zimbabwe? Let's just say that you have. Their inflation's 100,000%. Now that's what we call inflation, right? So, if the government issues bonds for more public income transfer for the elderly and can't pay it off, the next generation has to print even more money. And then there's a high risk of inflation. Basically, it's covering up one problem with another. Those in charge of finance can't possibly run the country so irresponsibly. Higher taxes isn't an option because of tax resistance. Nor can they just print more money. So what happens next? There is nothing we can do. You have to work longer, maybe until you're 70. So, the problem is that the current working generation has problems of its own. In the past stages of industrialization, with 1% increase in the economy, 100,000 new jobs were created. Since IT wasn't developed as it is now, everything was done in the manufacturing business. It was either machine or labor, right? Now, if the economy grows by 1%, 50,000 jobs may or may not be created. Why? Everything's automated, so there's no need for jobs. Back in the capital intensive days, if factories, roads, and construction companies were built, we saw a sharp increase in jobs. That's not the case now. Everything's automated. Automated. So, for Korea or Japan, to give jobs to all the younger generation, our economies must grow by 6%. But how is our growth at the moment? We're at 2 or 3% increase at most. 2 or 3%. And is there any hope of a high growth rate in the near future? No. And this goes for all developed nations. When the economy is at its lowest, it can grow based on labor. As long as there's an input of labor, it grows exponentially. And of course, there's an endless demand for labor. Add capital-intensive tactics and we see a boom in growth. Once we start to add in factories, roads, and construction, there's a huge demand in labor. And when that's done, there's nothing more but technology-intensive growth. A country's growth then depends on technological innovation. But that can't happen overnight. Once technological innovation achieves growth, those that can secure jobs in that field must be highly educated. And this isn't just a suggestion, it's a requirement. So, job creation is all closely connected to income distribution. Developed nations, such as Korea and Japan, are all distressed over the job creation and income distribution issues. It's like two sides of a coin. Unfortunately, the future generation's not that bright. And we say the Atomy business can become an alternative in the bleak future. There may be other options, but for the average person like us, it may very well be the best one out there. Let's take a look at why that is. First, there's no entry restriction. What kind of company lets anyone join into their company just because they want to? That's not how most companies usually choose to work. Where will you find a place like that? Nowhere. But interestingly enough, the Atomy business allows that. There's no entry restriction. You can do so as long as you have the right attitude. Secondly, there's no entry fee. You don't need to make any initial investment. Do you need money to start a restaurant or not? Of course, you need to find a location, to pay rent, to purchase appliances and utensils and a refrigerator and ingredients to cook. But I'd like to say that you shouldn't open a restaurant in the first place. If you look at the current situation and issues in the Gyeonggi-do service industry issued by Gyeonggi-do, 95% of their restaurants go bankrupt within 4 years. 95% bankrupt in 4 years. On average, 85% of businesses go bankrupt within 4 years according to statistics released by Gyeonggi-do. Out of 100 new establishments, 5 of them make money. 10 maintain the status quo, and 80 of them go bankrupt. So only 5 of them actually make money. What kind of business is that? Businesses with amazingly creative ideas. If you don't have something like that, don't start your business. The initial investment cost is sometimes referred to as the sunk cost. If you put $150,000 in, and it shuts down for some reason, it's impossible to get that money back. That's why new businesses go bankrupt and suffer from bad credit. But Atomy doesn't have an entry fee, so no worries. Third, we're all in it together. There's no maintenance fee either. There are not that many people that can succeed all on their own. But here at Atomy, we're a team, which means there's a synergy effect. So you have your opportunity, but you might ask what's opportunity and what's luck? Opportunities are wheels. You know that wheel that you can spin and throw darts at to win money? After you spin it, the wheel goes around and stops at a certain point, right? And what happens if you choose not to spin the wheel? You don't win money, right? This dog has something in his mouth. Did someone stick it in his mouth? He walked all over the place and luckily he found it. In the East, luck has the same Chinese character as motion. Here, I'll write it up here for you on the board. The meaning of it is movement and motion. So, in the East, what is luck? It's not something that's still, but something that keeps moving around. So, it's not about certain people getting lucky or not. Opportunity is when you are able to catch the luck that is always in motion around you. That is what opportunity and luck is. Let's see what they thought in the West. They believed in the same. Success is when you are able to achieve your goal, and it differs from person to person. To a child, success is building a sandcastle. And for this girl, success is riding a bicycle without any help. You know. And to another, climbing the Himalayas is what success is. So success is different for everyone. But no matter who you are, one of the most meaningful successes is financial success. So, if you look at the success function, those of you who didn't do well in math in school might think this is awfully difficult, but really, it's not that complicated. I promise you, it's not that complicated. The success is financial success, so it'd be revenue. X is my effort, Y is help from others, and Z is fortune. Fortune. So let's take a look, because no one succeeds with only their own efforts. Factors such as the social system and flow of the trend has to help. This refers to macro environment. Help from outside. Of course, this includes help from other individuals, but factors such as social trends and government policies also matter. An individual's success depends on these factors. No matter how efficient your manufacturing process is, if it doesn't align with social trends, you cannot succeed. So, for example, if you were to say that you would produce black and white TVs in an extremely efficient manner, because it's not aligned with social trends, you will not be able to succeed. Individual effort and help from surrounding environments is what drives the Atomy business, and there's luck. We all need a bit of luck, and all you sitting here today are extremely lucky. Why? Because you are able to access all of this information for yourselves. But the issue is, will you have the appropriate attitude and mindset to believe this information is valuable? Some might think this isn't new info, but it depends on your attitude. What do people in the West think? This is Kairos. And there's also a very famous poem here. But this is Kairos, the god of opportunity. Kairos is the son of Zeus. Since he's the son of Zeus from Olympus, he's very powerful. That's opportunity. And if you take a look at how he looks, he has wings. Wings on his back and also on his heels, like so. Take a good look. He has hair in the front, but he's bald in the back. He has a scale in one hand and a knife in the other. And he's always portrayed with his heels up. This is Kairos, opportunity. So what did the ancient Greeks think about opportunity? It's about always being ready to run away with your heels up. And that it moves quickly because it has wings. Since Kairos has long hair in front of his face, it's easy to catch him when he comes in front of you. But once you miss him, because he's bald in the back, there's no way of catching him again. That's what Greeks thought of him. His scale shows that you should hurry and weigh whether the presented opportunity is of value or not. And his knife tells us that we should be quick in making our decision because there's not much time before he tries to run away. But Kairos also stands for time. Time has two meanings, Chronos and Kairos. Chronos refers to the morning, day and night. In our day, the time when the sun rises and sets, when the season changes from spring to summer. That is what Chronos is. On the other hand, Kairos is a fleeting moment. It's capturing the split second to see if the opportunity is of value to you, so it holds both interpretations. He's portrayed without any clothes, so that he might not be recognized by all. Opportunity might be recognized by all, but at the same time, it goes by so quickly, most fail to catch it. He has wings on his heels and back, with his heels lifted from the ground. And he's bald in the back, so if you miss the opportunity when it presents itself in front of you, it's long gone. That's what Kairos is. You see a car race, ice rink for short track skating, and middle and long distance races in the Olympics. Kairos refers to the moment a player sets eyes on an opportunity and jumps right in. Korea's got a great record in ice sports, right? We excel. But does a player that's fastest in the beginning always win? The winner mostly lags back. But when they see an opportunity, they burrow in within 0.1 seconds. That's Kairos. Seize the opportunity. You must seize the opportunity to win first place. How big's the gap between first and second? Not even 1/100th of a second. A tiny difference. That's what makes a winner win first. That's all it takes. So this is Kairos. Seizing the opportunity the moment it presents itself. Next is Fortuna. Fortuna is a goddess in Rome. But also in Rome, luck does not stay still. It is always in motion. Always. If you look at her here, she's always on wheels, right? What do the wheels symbolize? That she's always mobile. Good fortune never stays, always in one spot. It's always on the move, so when the goddess of good fortune comes before you, catch her. These are all portrayals of Fortuna. Look very closely at the goddess of fortune. She always has long hair in the front, but she's bald in the back. It means if you fail to catch her once she presents herself, you will never be able to. She's always rolling on a ball or wheels. Always, it's either a ball or wheels. Good fortune is always in motion. Then what do we have here? Almost all portrayals of Fortuna show her with her eyes covered. It means she does not choose to go to a particular person right from the start. Good luck roams about freely, so be sure to catch it when it comes before you. The fact that she's portrayed with long hair in the front and bald in back shows that when good luck disappears before you, you cannot catch it again. So, in both the East and the West, how is Kairos and Fortuna understood? That luck never stays with just one person. Luck presents itself to all. The difference is, can someone recognize it as an opportunity and seize it or not? The culture of the East and West coincide. Way back in the Middle Ages, people believed that Fortuna spun the Wheel of Fortune. Wheels never stay in one place. It's always spinning, right? It spins and moves like luck, just like luck. This is where the Western saying, "Fortune knocks once at every man's gate," actually comes from. Why do I always get stuck with bad luck then, you might wonder? But actually, it's simply that you missed your opportunity for good fortune. You let it pass you by. Fortune means luck. The English word for fortune comes from fortuna. Fortune refers to one's wealth or luck. Fortune knocks once at every man's gate. It knocks on everyone's door at least once. But many don't recognize it as luck and wave it goodbye. Fortune and love favor the brave. What's a brave person? What is a brave person like? Someone who challenges themselves by changing the paradigm, changing the status quo. Scholars out there have already announced that we're moving from a knowledge information society to a creative society. What that means is that it's impossible to make money without being creative. Even if you farm, you can't succeed by farming, like agricultural or industrial ages. Since we're moving from a knowledge information to creative society, it's impossible to succeed without creativity. You cannot expect to succeed just because you have a degree from a prestigious university like the old days. Even prestigious universities, when compared to the entirety of knowledge in the world, it's zero. Zero. One very bored scholar once calculated the amount of new knowledge posted online in a day. He must have really had nothing to do, right? But according to his calculations, the amount of new knowledge shared online in a day amount to 1,000,000 books that are 700 pages each. Can you acquire all that knowledge? Well, if anyone's seeking to do so, they're crazy. It's impossible. What happens if you ask the most skilled doctor with a great amount of medical knowledge to come examine a car, what'll happen? Well, it's not possible. Not possible. Huh? If you tell a doctor to farm, will he be able to do a good job? The doctor wouldn't know the first thing about farming. I'm saying this because the knowledge one might have is a mere drop of water in a vast sea of knowledge in the world. It's nothing to be cocky about. Socrates said, the only thing that he knows is that he is ignorant. I know I'm intelligent because I know that I know nothing. What did he mean? It doesn't mean he's truly ignorant, but that the more he learns, he realizes how much more there is to learn. This is a saying by Einstein. Einstein is one of the smartest people of the 20th century. As one of the best scientists in history, he said, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know. Newton said something similar. Yeah. Talking about how much we know and what colleges we graduated from isn't bad necessarily, but I'm saying that the attitude is what matters most. Just as our chairman said, the service industry is basically work of the servants. If servants suddenly act like owners, the service industry will not survive. It just won't operate well. In the same sense, rather than technique, really, the wishes in our hearts are more important, ardent desire. You have to be desperate for success with the Atomy business. That kind of sincerity, and what I talked about with Carnegie earlier, if you decide you're going to make $10,000 in 3 years, you must decide what you plan on doing. I'll make that money doing the Atomy business. Why? We have already seen partners who have succeeded in making $10,000 within 3 years, so it's been proven possible. It's possible. Then who will succeed and who will fail? It's a matter of attitude. Attitude is everything. Attitude and sincerity determine everything. Next, you must ask, for how long? You must decide a timeline. I plan on doing it within 3 years or 5 years. Set a deadline. Then you must ask yourself how. After deciding you will make $10,000 in 3 years, how do you propose on achieving that goal for yourself? If you decide to do it with Atomy within 3 years, how? That refers to the detailed plan. If I don't meet at least 10 people a day, I will not go home. That's what you need. You need a detailed plan. Apparently, housewives in Korea spend most of their time watching TV. It's an average of 3 hours. And probably it's dramas. So I'm saying make a sacrifice. It's an opportunity cost. You can't have it all. But before you learn about the techniques, just know if you are determined to make $10,000 a month within 3 years, you will be sure to succeed. Thank you.